Maybe I'll ask other students to ask any questions in the first class, and any one of the 10 students, you tell your registration number and you can on your camera and you can answer. Those who are ask question, no need to on the camera. If you want, you can on. Okay, quickly ask questions. Have you downloaded the handouts? Did you get them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, quickly ask questions. Only 10 minutes. Otherwise, we cannot cover. So fish feeders also should be ready. Then only the fish can be fed. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay. Sure. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you are not ready to study as student-centered learning? Anyone can ask because you also will be asked questions. Okay, so in that case, maybe I'll ask the first question. So first question is from the first slide. What are soil properties? Number one can answer. You can on your camera and answer. Number one.
Yes, ma'am. Minerals, matter, organic matters, liquid and gases.
What are? What is my question? What was my question? What are physical properties of soils? Physical properties. Your answer is what is soil? Okay, my question is what are physical properties? Okay, number two, can you answer? Registration number 2.
Soil texture, soil structure, soil density.
So these are, okay, thank you. Those are the list of physical properties. I am asking, what do you mean by physical property?
Physical properties are the properties which we can evaluate by visualizing or feeling.
Yeah, good. Okay, so please others, you can ask questions. If you have the handouts, you can see the handouts and ask questions. Please. Okay, what are the 2 types of density you studied? Number 3. On your camera?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are the 2 types of density you studied?
Bulk density and particle density.
Okay, so what is bulk density? You can answer. What is
bulk density is a mass per unit volume of substances, including the pore space.
Okay, good. Thank you. And the next question. Anyone want to ask question? Any smart students in this batch to ask question? Okay, what are the factors that influence bulk density? Number 4. Can you tell 1 or 2 factors that will affect or influence bulk density?
Soil texture, the amount of organic matter, depth of soil, soil compaction, structure.
Okay, so can you tell how soil depth will influence the bulk density?
Higher the depth, more compact soil, more bulk density.
Okay, thank you. Then 005, are you there? 005. Okay. So why surface soils have low bulk density compared to deeper soils? Why surface soils have less bulk density compared to deeper soils?
Surface soil has more pores than deeper soil.
Yeah, why more pores?
Uh,
Why? Why they have more pores?
because of the human activities, compaction.
No, compaction is more in the deeper soils. Okay. Any other one? 006. Can you attempt? Why surface soils have more pores?
Because of the organic manure added to the upper surface.
Okay. Any other reasons? I told you yesterday. 2 more reasons.
Human activities, plugging, those kind of things.
Any natural activity, can you tell? Normally, human activity will destroy. But natural activity, can you tell? That increase the pore space?
Mineral.
What about any living organisms?
Earthworms.
Yes, earthworm activity. So when there is earthworm activity, it will definitely increase the pore space. Okay, and also root penetration also will be high in the surface soils. Okay, so when please don't just hear and go. Better you everyone please better you print out the handout and keep it with you. Whenever I am telling some additional points, you note those additional points. Okay, because maybe in the handout I'll give only point forms, and then during discussion I elaborate them. So if you want to learn properly, and if you want to understand properly, better you take a printout and you put the additional points I am discussing in that handout. Then that can improve your understanding. Okay, now 007. What are the importances of physical properties of a soil? Why we should study about physical properties? What are the importances? Seven, are you there? 007? Absent?
Hello, ma'am.
Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so tell me what are the importance of physical properties?
Easy to identify minerals.
No, I am asking about soil physical property. What are the importances of soil physical properties? Why we
Plant available water.
Okay, plant available water is influenced by physical properties. Okay, any other? Any other?
Water movement in soils.
Okay.
And chemical and biological condition of soil.
Okay, so all these will be influenced by physical properties. So we have to study about the physical properties. Okay. Okay, now 008. So, yes. So can you tell about the influence of texture on bulk density. How soil texture will affect bulk density.
In clay particles, compared to the sandy soil, clay particles its volume is low, so its bulk density is high.
Clay bulk density high, is it correct?
Very well. Clay particles volume increase, so bulk density is low.
It is not the clay particle volume. It is
Clay
the
soil.
total volume of the soil. Okay, clay particle has more pores. Okay, so the total volume of the soil is high. Because of that, bulk density will be lower. Okay, got that?
Okay.
Okay, now 009. What is the difference between particle density and bulk density? Oh, what is bulk density? Particle density.
Particle density means mass of solid per unit volume of soil. Then bulk density means mass of per unit volume including the pore space.
Okay, so here only solid space, solid volume. Okay. Okay. Now the last student, 10, AG 010. So can you name some soil physical processes in the soil? Physical properties and processes. So can you tell one or two processes?
Soil porosity, soil density, soil texture, soil color, soil structure. Sorry, ma'am.
So these are actually properties. I'm asking processes.
Soil water movement, soil water retention.
Yeah, so those are the processes. Okay, so the processes means they continuously occur. Okay, right. So, so maybe this next class I will not ask in the order. Maybe I'll pick up here and there and ask questions. So that means everybody has to be ready, has to learn and be ready. Okay, right. So now we can start the lesson. Today's lesson.
Recording in progress.
So okay, so and also I want to have a discussion. Maybe at the end I can go for that. So we were discussing about soil bulk density, and also we discussed about why or how bulk density will influence cropping and how to improve bulk density. That also we have already studied. And also we maybe we can start with particle density again. So as we discussed, it is the mass of solids per unit volume of solids excluding the pore space. Okay. So here MS over VS. So this VS is volume of soil solids only, not including the pores. Okay. And particle. So how to determine this? You will be doing in the practical. So maybe next Monday, in each week, 1 hour, the demonstrators will discuss with you how to estimate these properties. Though we are not doing practicals now, if you learn that, it will be improve your understanding. Okay. So particle density of most mineral soils vary between 2.6 to 2.75. So you have to understand bulk density is less always than particle density, or particle density is always higher than bulk density. Okay. So now if we see the factors that affect the particle density or that influence the particle density. So the mineral composition and organic matter, these are the main factors that will affect the particle density, because in soil you have already studied different types of minerals. Okay. So in the minerals you also studied about the density of mineral. So density of different minerals vary. So depending on the composition of minerals in a soil, the particle density of the soil also will vary. So soils having heavy or high density minerals will have high particle density, whereas soils having low density minerals will have low particle density. So the main factor that affect the particle density is the mineral composition. The next one is organic matter content. So we already discussed organic matter has low density compared to mineral matter. Okay. So if a soil has higher organic matter content, that means that soil will have lower particle density. Okay. And vice versa. So these two factors are the main factors that will affect the particle density. Whereas structure or texture does not affect particle density, because structure or texture normally affect density or bulk density by influencing the pore space. Okay, but here we are excluding the pore space. So these two properties will not have any influence on the value of the particle density. So now here you can see, maybe it is not clear. You can see the difference between bulk density and particle density. So this is a 1 centimeter cube volume, and the weight of this is 1.33. It is given in megagram, but you can assume it as 1.33 gram also. Okay, if it is 1 centimeter cube, it is 1.33 gram. Okay, so density is ms over Vt. So total volume is 1 centimeter cube or 1 meter cube, and the dry weight is 1.33. So bulk density is 1.33 divided by 1. It is 1.33 megagram per meter cube or gram per centimeter cube. Okay, so if in this soil the volume of pores is, for example, assume the volume of pores is 50% and volume of solids is 50%. So half is solids and half is pores. So in that case, when we are calculating particle density, ms over vs. So here vs, the volume of the solids is 0.5. Okay, 0.5 meter cube or 0.5 centimeter cube. So if you divide 1.33 by 0.5, it will give 2.65. Okay, so you can see the difference between particle density and bulk density, and if you are given a calculation, you should be able to do. So now we'll see one of the application of bulk density. So why we should know bulk density? One thing is to manage bulk density, because low bulk density is better for crop cultivation. So if we know the bulk density, if it is high, we have to reduce that. So for that reason, we have to know. The other reason is to calculate weight of hectare furrow slice. So what is weight of hectare furrow slice? So that means what is 1 hectare? Can anyone tell? What is a hectare? Yeah, that means 100 meter into 100 meter. That area is a hectare or 10,000 meter square. Okay. So normally for fertilizer recommendation or pesticide recommendation is given in kilogram per hectare or liter per hectare. Okay. But we measure these things in the soil. We measure and maybe we will get only 1 gram of soil and we will measure and we'll do the analysis. But for the farmer, we have to give recommendation for 1 hectare. Okay, so we have to convert the analytical results in gram, what we get, into hectare. Okay, so for that we should know how much of weight of the hectare soil up to the rooting depth. Okay, so maybe some crops are 15 centimeter rooting depth, some can 20 meter or more. Okay, so depending on the rooting depth, we have to calculate for one. If we cut a big mass of soil up to the rooting depth of 1 hectare, how much will it weigh? Okay, what is the weight of that? So that is called as weight of hectare furrow slice. Okay, so if we take a furrow of a slice for 1 hectare up to rooting depth, what is the weight? So if we know that weight, then whatever analysis we do in the laboratory, and if we want to recommend it to farmer, for 1 gram this much nitrogen we have to apply, so this much of kilograms. For hectare, what is the weight? So for that much of kilogram, how much we have to apply? Okay, so for that, this calculation is required. So that is what it is written here. Importance of hectare furrow slice to calculate the nutrient requirement or fertilizer requirement of for a particular field, or even in some cases we need to apply some soil amendments. So for that also, to calculate the lime requirement, we need the weight of a soil in a hectare. Okay, so how to calculate that weight of a hectare furrow slice? So for that, bulk density is weight upon volume. Okay, so you want to calculate the weight. So weight equals bulk density into volume. So to calculate this weight, you simply need the bulk density of the field and the rooting depth of the field. Okay, then if you multiply both, you can calculate how much of weight the soil in a hectare is. So for example, if the weight is 1.2, if the bulk density is 1.2 gram per centimeter cube, okay, you measure the bulk density. Then how to calculate the volume? Area into depth. Okay, so area you already told, 100 meter into 100 meter or 10,000 meter square is the area. So to find the volume, you have to multiply it by depth. So depth is 20 centimeter. So we divide it by 100 to convert everything into meter cube. Okay. So this gram per centimeter cube is equivalent to megagram per meter cube. So in order to have everything into meter, we change this gram per centimeter cube into megagram per meter cube. So megagram per meter cube into, so both are equivalent actually. So 1.2 into 10,000 into 0.2. So that if you calculate that, it will come as 24,000 or 2.4 into 10 to the power 6 kilogram or 2,400 tons. Okay, so in 1 hectare of soil up to the 20 centimeter, if the bulk density is 1.2, then the weight will be 2,400 tons. Okay. So similarly, if you are given a bulk density, another value, and if you are asked to calculate the weight of a hectare of a slice, you should be able to calculate. And even maybe in the third year, you have to know how to calculate this, and you have to convert the lab analysis results into hectare, how much will be there in 1 hectare. You have to do the calculation. So that is another application of knowing bulk density. Okay. So now we'll see about porosity. So what is porosity? So the portion of soil volume occupied by air and water. So that is in the soil volume, except the solids, what is there is air and water. So that volume of air and water is known as pores. And air and water move through and stored in the soil pores. Okay. So pore space is the part of the bulk volume of soil that is not occupied by either mineral or organic matter, but is open space occupied by either gas or water. Okay, so the pore space is what is in the soil volume, what is occupied by gas or water is pore space. So what are the factors that will influence the pore space in a soil? So the same factors we discussed earlier. Soil structure will influence the amount of pore space in a soil. Okay, so if a soil is well aggregated soil, so aggregates means soil particles get together and form a shape. Okay, so when they form a shape, then there will be space in between those shapes, and even within the aggregates there will be space. Okay, so because of that, the porosity or the pore space will be higher in a well aggregated soil. Similarly, texture, as we discussed yesterday, clay soils will have higher porosity than sandy soils. That is, total porosity is higher in clay soils than sandy soil. Then organic matter content. So when organic matter content is high, that will increase the porosity. Okay, so can anyone tell why organic matter will increase the porosity? Can anyone tell how organic matter can increase the porosity?
Because when organic matter is present in the soil, it get together with the soil and form aggregate.
Yeah.
So it will increase the porosity.
Yes. Okay. Good. And also, if organic matter is high, maybe microbial activity will be high and earthworm activity will be high. Because they need carbon source. So microbial activity, when it is high, that also can increase the soil aggregation and increase the porosity. Okay, so organic matter is the main factor that will increase the porosity in the soil. And for any soil, to improve the soil, you can add organic matter. Okay, and soil depth. So as we have already discussed, surface soils will have more porosity compared to the deeper soils. Okay. And so there's another thing we should know. So although porosity is related to density, pore size is an important factor affecting soil processes. Okay, so maybe so the soils with similar porosity may have different distribution of soil pore size. Okay, so maybe porosity means the volume of pores divided by total volume. That is porosity. Okay, so maybe two soils have same porosity, 50% porosity, for example. But maybe the pore size of these two soils, pore size distribution of these two soils will vary. So that pore size distribution will influence the properties. Okay, so here the smallest pores that is less than 0.1 micrometer diameter can hold water too tightly for use by plants, and the plant available water is held in the pores between these two diameter. Okay, so that means if the water held in these sized pores only will be available to the plant. If a pore size is greater than this, maybe that water cannot be held in the soil and it will be drained. And if it is held in less than this size, then that water will be too tightly held by the soil particles and that cannot be absorbed by the plant. Okay, so not only the total pore volume, but the pore size distribution is also important. Okay, so these greater than 75 micrometer, that diameter pores are called as macropores, and they are generally filled with air. And when the soil is at field capacity, so we'll study what is field capacity later, they can rapidly transport water and solutes to deeper depth. That means if the pore size is greater than this diameter or bigger pore size, water cannot be held in those pores and they will drain. Okay, only between these size particles or between these size pores only water can be held in the soil. And clay soils have smaller pores but more total pore space than sands. And soil with extensive biological activity have greater macroporosity. So normally for plant roots or animals, they need oxygen for their activity, and also for their movement they need macropores. Okay, so soils with high biological activity will have more macroporosity, and also through their activity they will create more macroporosity. Macro means big. And pore size distribution affect the ability of the plants and other organisms to access water and oxygen. So not only the total pores, but how this pore size is distributed in the soil will affect the how plants can take up water that will be affected by the pore size distribution. And large or big and continuous pores allow rapid transmission of air, water and dissolved nutrients through soil. And small pores store water between rainfall or irrigation events. Okay, so the soil should have a good proportion of macro or big pores and small pores, because the macro pores will allow water to drain and allow air to be in the soil, whereas the micropores will hold the water whenever there is a rainfall or whenever there is an irrigation. The water should be stored in the soil. So for that, micropores or small pores are important. So there should be a good balance between these macropores and micropores. So that the pore size distribution is also important. And pore size variation also promote biological activity by compartmentalizing pore space, which reduce competition between organisms, including microbes. So like people, these microbes or the organisms also need some space, separate spaces for each of the different species. So when there is a pore size variability side, rather than having all the pores as small same size, If the pore size has variable size, then that can improve the biological activity or the diversity of the microbes or organisms in the soil. And the same human activities that affect soil structure and density will affect the porosity also, so that you can understand that whatever factors that can affect the structure or affect the density, especially the bulk density, will affect the porosity. And porosity can be enhanced in compacted soils by addition of organic matter and through tillage. So in compacted soil, the porosity is less. So we have seen a diagram yesterday. In the compacted soils, pores are very less. So for those kind of soils, we have to improve the porosity. So for that, we can add organic matter, or by doing some tillage operations also, these compacted soils, the porosity can be improved. And macroporosity can be promoted with deep rooting vegetation. So if you plant some deep rooted vegetation in a soil having compact surface or compact structure, then you can improve the porosity, because the root penetration will improve the porosity. So here you can see three different types of soils. So this is sand soil, clay soil, and silt soil. So this is intermediate in between. So in clay soil, as we have already told, the porosity is high. Maybe it can be 75%. So porosity is nothing, but it is the volume of pores divided by the total volume. Okay. So in the total volume, 75% is pores. Okay. And in sand, the pore size is only 35% porosity. This is an example. Whereas for silt type of soils, it is in between these two, just almost 50% porosity. But if you see the distribution, in clay soils, proportion of micropores is higher than macropores. Whereas in sandy soil, proportion of macropores is higher than micropores. So that's why whatever water you add to a sandy soil, it will all leach from the soil, because the proportion of macropores is high in sandy soil. So now here this is porosity. So if we take the soil volume, Vt is the total volume of a soil. Okay, so if you take the total volume in a bottle, if you take if you fill, for example, 1 liter of bottle with full with the soil, that 1 liter or 1000 centimeter cube is the total volume. Okay. So in that total volume, that include volume of air, volume of water, and volume of soil particle or soil solids. So not only soil particle, even organic matter, that volume also included in the volume of solid. So Vt is total volume, is solid volume plus water volume plus air volume. So what is porosity? So always we denote porosity by capital E. Porosity is volume of pores divided by total volume. Okay, so in the total volume, what proportion is made up of pores? Pores means either it can be filled with air or it can be filled with water. So Va plus Vw divided by Vt is porosity. So now we'll derive an equation relating porosity, bulk density, and particle density. So please, you by yourself, you try to derive this as a homework, because that will be useful maybe in any exams it may appear, so you have to practice that. Okay, so here porosity is VA, volume of air, plus VW over VT. Okay, but so here VT is Vs plus VW plus Va. So if we bring Vs here, Vt minus Vs is Vw plus Va. Okay, or from the total volume, if you reduce or deduct the volume of solids, you can get volume of water plus volume of air. So here, instead of Va plus Vw, we can substitute by Vt minus Vs. Okay, so here Vt minus Vs over Vt. Okay, so now we can Vt over Vt is 1 minus Vs over Vt. Okay, that is solid volume. This is total volume. So which density is related to volume of solids? It is the particle density. Okay, in particle density is related to volume of solids, whereas bulk density is related to total volume. Okay, so now we are going to substitute bulk density and particle density here. Okay, so instead of Vt, you can substitute Ms upon bulk density, and instead of Vs, you can substitute Ms over particle density. So Ms over particle density divided by Ms over bulk density. So Ms and Ms will be cancelled, and bulk density will, so we can write it as 1 minus bulk density over particle density. Okay. So the relationship between porosity, bulk density and particle density is porosity, or E equals 1 minus bulk density over particle density. Okay. So please, without seeing, you with your knowledge, you try to derive this equation, because it will definitely, you have to do that maybe during practical also, maybe it is needed, and during different calculations you need. So you should understand how to derive this equation. Okay. So anyone having any doubts up to this, you can ask. Is it understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you do it by yourself, you can be more confident. Okay. Okay, so that is about porosity. Now there is another term called as void ratio. Okay, so void ratio is denoted by simple E. So void ratio is volume of pores divided by volume of solids. Okay, so that is void ratio. Normally this void ratio is normally used by engineers. For agriculture we normally use porosity. Okay, so for us volume of pores to the total volume, that is important for agriculture. Normally for engineering purpose they use void ratio, but you should know the difference, and you should know what is void ratio and what is porosity. Okay, and here relationship between porosity and void ratio is derived. So that is, so here you can see porosity is volume of air plus volume of water divided by total volume, whereas void ratio is volume of air plus volume of water divided by volume of solids. So if you cross multiply, EVS equals VA plus VW. So instead of this VA plus VW, we can substitute this EVS. So here also VA plus VW plus VS. So instead of that EVS for VA plus VW, again we put EVS plus VS. So if we take common as VS, VS over VS equals E upon E plus E. Okay, simply. So these two will be cancelled. So porosity equals void ratio divided by void ratio plus 1. So if you estimate any one, you can estimate the other one. Okay, so if you can rearrange this like this also. Void ratio equals porosity divided by 1 minus porosity. So this derivation also very simple. If you do by yourself, you will be able to derive whenever you are asked. Okay. And this is void ratio and bulk density and particle density. So similar to the earlier one. So instead of VA plus VW, you can substitute VT minus VS. So then VT upon VS minus VS upon VS is 1, so minus 1. So again, instead of VT, you can substitute as the bulk density. Then instead of VS, you can substitute the equation of particle density. Then if you solve that, void ratio equals particle density over bulk density minus 1. Okay. So you should know all these equations. No need to memorize. If you understand, you can do that. So here I will give you a calculation. So this calculation is already done here. So for example, if 1 centimeter cube of a dry soil weighs 1.33 gram, calculate the bulk density. Okay. So if you are asked a question, MS over VT. So here the dry weight is given, and this is the volume, and this is the bulk density. And if the volume of pores is 50%, calculate the particle density. So if volume of pores is 50%, then volume of solids is 50%. That means, so the volume is 1 centimeter cube. So 50% is pores. That means 0.5 centimeter cube is pores. Therefore, the other 0.5 centimeter cube is solid. So MS over VS. So MS is 1.33. VS is 0.5. That is volume of solids. So that will give 2.66. Okay. So now this is another calculation. So can you do this calculation now? Or you, I think it is in the handout, but the value is different. So please take this sum and do that. And maybe tomorrow we will discuss how to do this calculation. So please write down this, because the values given in the handout is different. I am going to discuss only this one. So can you quickly take down this? I'll give you 5 minutes to take down. And tomorrow I'll ask 5 people to discuss this. Maybe 5 to 10 people. You have to discuss this. So please do this. Quickly take down that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so please, I'm sorry, I was talking a lot, but my mic was muted. Okay, sorry. So be prepared for tomorrow, and randomly picked 10 people have to answer the questions for these two slides, slated slides, and also whatever we studied today. Another, we will revise again and go further. Okay? Okay, huh?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Do you need any discussion? Do you want any clarification? No? And also, I want to know whether my speed is okay. Can you follow my lectures?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So if you have any issues, please let me know. Please give me some feedback whether I am speed, then I can slow down. Okay. Okay. So we'll wind up for now and meet tomorrow morning, 8:30. Okay.
Recording stopped.